Sometimes the people you die for are the ones who bury you first. Hey, I'm Jennifer, and before I tell you how my own mother cut me off with 7 words and how that moment changed everything, don't forget to subscribe to her Retaliation, where every story turns heartbreak into strength. The text came on a quiet Thursday morning. I was finishing a design sketch for a client when my phone buzzed. It was from Mom. 7 words that froze me in place. Don't call or come over. We're done. I stared at it, waiting for a follow-up. Maybe a just kidding. Maybe a reason, but there was nothing, just silence. I called her straight to voicemail. I texted Mom what's going on. No reply. I waited, staring at my screen until my eyes blurred. And then, out of some strange numb instinct, I typed back, got it. And that was it. It wasn't anger or pride that stopped me from trying again. It was exhaustion, the kind that settles deep in your chest when you've spent years being the only one holding things together. My name's Jennifer Clark. I'm 33, and for the past decade, I've built my life around fixing other people's messes at work, in relationships, and especially at home. After Dad passed away when I was 21, I became the emotional backbone of the family. Mom fell apart, and Ethan, my younger brother, drifted. He was 18 at the time, charming, lazy, and somehow always everyone's favorite. Mom would say he just needs time, but time never changed Ethan. He learned that no matter what he did, I'd pick up the pieces. I got my degree in interior design, started small, saved money, and slowly turned my talent into a real business. But every dollar I earned, every success I achieved, somehow ended up circling back to my family. Jenny, can you cover the rent just this month? Ethan's car broke down, can you help out? Mom's medication isn't covered. We'll pay you back soon. They never paid me back, and somehow I never stopped giving. I told myself it was love, that's what family does, but love, I've learned, shouldn't feel like bleeding. The breaking point came slowly, like a crack in glass that no one notices until the whole thing shatters. A few weeks before the text, I'd given Ethan a loan $10,000. He said he wanted to start a small tech business. I believed him because I wanted to. I even helped him design the website, the logo, everything. Then one night, I got a message from a friend. Hey, I just saw your brother at the Crown Bar, throwing money like he owns the place. At first, I laughed it off, but curiosity got the better of me, and I drove there. The moment I stepped inside, I saw him, my brother, at a VIP table surrounded by his friends. Bottles of champagne, new clothes, loud laughter. The $10,000 I'd loaned him my heart, earned money had turned into a party tab. I stood there for a second, frozen between disbelief and fury. When he finally saw me, his smile faded. Jen, hey, what are you doing here? I said quietly, enjoying the business launch. He had the nerve to smirk. Relax, it's just a little celebration, with my money. I said. He rolled his eyes. God, you're so dramatic. It's not a big deal, I'll pay you back. That night, something broke in me, not just trust, but that invisible string that tied me to him through guilt and obligation. When I told Mom about it the next morning, expecting at least some disappointment, she surprised me. Jennifer, he's your brother, she said coldly. You don't embarrass family in public. I felt my throat tighten. Mom, he embarrassed himself. He lied to me. You're always so judgmental. She snapped. Not everyone can be perfect like you. Perfect, that word hit me like a slap. I wasn't perfect, I was tired. I was the one fixing, helping, carrying, but in her eyes all I was a problem that made her son feel small. I left that day in silence. 2 weeks later came the text, don't call or come over, we're done. I didn't cry right away. Instead, I cleaned my apartment. I threw myself into work. But grief has a strange way of finding you when the world gets quiet. That night, sitting by my window with a glass of wine, it hit me, the finality of it. My own mother had cut me off, not over a crime, not over cruelty, but because I refused to stay silent. Days turned into weeks. Ethan didn't call either. My birthday came and went. I kept thinking maybe Mom would soften, maybe she'd realize she was wrong. But the silence stretched on, until one afternoon I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was from the bank. Miss Clark. The voice said, we just need to confirm you're aware your name has been removed from the joint account you opened with your mother last year. I froze. What? Yes, the banker said politely. Your mother came in last week and made some changes. That account had nearly $25,000 money I'd been saving for Mom's house renovations. I told her to keep it safe in a joint account so she could access it if there was an emergency. And now it was gone. I drove to her house, the lights were on. Ethan's car was in the driveway. I rang the bell. Mom opened the door halfway, her face stiff. Jennifer, I told you not to come. I tried to stay calm. You took the money. Her eyes flicked to the side. It's my account. It was our account. I said. That was my savings. I needed it, she said quietly. Ethan's business fell through. He's been depressed. You wouldn't understand. I stared at her. So you stole from me to bail him out? Watch your tone, she snapped. You've always acted like you're better than us. That was the moment I realized it wasn't just Ethan who betrayed me. It was her, the one person I thought I was protecting. I left without another word. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit in my car for 10 minutes before I could drive. That night, I looked around my apartment, at all the things I'd bought them over the years, the laptop Ethan used for work, the furniture I helped Mom pick, the endless receipts of favors and forgotten promises, and I said out loud, no more. It wasn't revenge I wanted, not yet. It was peace. But peace, I learned, only comes when you stop feeding people who keep biting your hand. So I stopped. No calls, no texts, no help. 3 months later, my business took off. One of my projects, a luxury apartment design, got featured in a magazine. Suddenly, I had clients lined up, money coming in, stability. And then one morning, as I was preparing for a client meeting, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Ethan was standing there. His eyes were red, his clothes wrinkled. Jen, I need your help, he said. I didn't move. You need money again. He swallowed hard. Mom's in trouble. I felt my heart twist. What kind of trouble? He hesitated. She got involved in a deal with some loan guys. She thought she could help me get back on track, but now they're threatening her. She's scared. For a second, the old Jennifer, the one who fixed everything, almost said, I'll handle it. But I stopped myself. Ethan, I said quietly, did you tell her to take that loan? He looked away. That was enough of an answer. I closed the door halfway. You two made your choices. He started to cry. Please, Jen, she's our mom. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to slam the door, but that word mom still hurt too much. I said, tell her to call me herself. Then I closed the door. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Jennifer. It was Mom. Her voice was trembling. I don't know what to do. I took a deep breath. Now you need me. I made a mistake, she whispered. I shouldn't have said those things. For a moment, I didn't say anything. I just listened to the sound of her breathing, small and scared, so different from the cold, dismissive woman who told me I wasn't welcome. And right there, something inside me shifted, not pity, not forgiveness, but clarity, because I realized she was still trying to pull me back in, still trying to use my heart as her safety net, and that's when I decided, if they wanted to see what I was without them, I'd show them. The revenge didn't start with anger. It started with boundaries, real ones, and that was only the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. Every word from Mom's call kept replaying in my head, the panic in her voice, the way she suddenly remembered I existed only when she needed saving. For years, I had been her safety net, the person who fixed everything while she and Ethan made mistake after mistake. But this time, I wasn't running to clean up their mess. The next morning, I went to work as usual. My assistant, Chloe, noticed I was quiet. Rough night, she asked gently. I smiled faintly. Just family stuff. She nodded like she understood. Everyone has family stuff, but not everyone knows how deep those wounds go. That day, something in me shifted. I realized that maybe the best revenge isn't loud or explosive. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's showing people you're not broken, even when they try to destroy you. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about what Mom had said about the loan, about the people threatening her. I didn't want her hurt, no matter how much she'd hurt me. So I started digging quietly. Through a friend in real estate, I learned that Mom had mortgaged the house 6 months ago. The money went into Ethan's new project. Only there was no project. He'd partnered with a man named Kyle, someone with a long history of scams. When I found the name, my stomach twisted. Kyle wasn't a stranger to me. He was Ethan's best friend in high school, the one who'd once convinced Ethan to steal Dad's old watch and sell it online for quick cash. Some things never change. I didn't tell Mom or Ethan what I knew. I just waited, because sometimes silence makes people reveal who they really are. 2 weeks later, Ethan showed up again, this time outside my office. He looked worse than before, eyes hollow, hands shaking. Jen, please, we're in trouble. They're coming after the house. I kept my tone calm. How much does she owe? He hesitated. 30,000. I blinked. 30. You told me it was just a loan for your business. He rubbed his face. It was at first, but then things went wrong. Kyle disappeared. The lenders want it back now, and they're serious, Jen. I don't know what to do. I looked at him, really looked. For the first time, I saw my brother not as someone to protect, but as someone who never learned to take responsibility. Ethan, I said slowly when Mom cut me off, did you tell her to do it? His head snapped up. What? No, but his voice wavered. I kept my eyes on him. Don't lie to me. He swallowed. She was angry. I might have. Said you overreacted, that you made me feel small. She took it personally. It hit me like a quiet truth he had turned her against me, just like he always did when things got hard. And she believed him because it was easier than facing what kind of son she'd raised. I can't help you, I said softly. He stared at me in disbelief. You'd let Mom lose the house. I didn't make that loan. I said, she did, you both cut me out, remember? He opened his mouth, then closed it, like he wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. She's still your mother, I know, I said, and I'm still her daughter, but maybe she should remember that next time before she chooses who to believe. He left angry. I let him go. That night, I sat alone in my apartment again, the city lights flickering through the window. My phone buzzed with new messages, clients, suppliers, a few friends checking in, but my mind was far away. I thought about all the birthdays, the dinners, the little ways I'd tried to keep the family together. And now all that effort had dissolved into silence and betrayal. But beneath the sadness, there was something else, a quiet sense of clarity. For once, I didn't feel weak. I felt free. Over the next month, I focused entirely on work. My designs got noticed by a big real estate firm that wanted to collaborate. For the first time in years, I wasn't surviving, I was thriving. Then one evening, I got an unexpected call. It was from Mr. Langford, one of Mom's old neighbors. Jennifer, I hate to bother you, he said, but I thought you should know there were some men outside your mother's place last night. They looked rough. She seemed scared. I thanked him and hung up, my chest tightening. I didn't want to get pulled back in, but I couldn't ignore it either. So I made a plan. The next day, I called a lawyer, someone I'd worked with on property contracts. I explained the situation and asked what could be done. He said quietly, if her house is under threat because of illegal lending, you might be able to intervene, but it'll take proof. Proof. That word stuck in my head. So I reached out to another connection, a private investigator I'd hired months earlier for a background check on a client. He owed me a favor. I gave him the names Ethan and Kyle. Within a week, he sent me a file. The results were worse than I imagined. Kyle had been running a fake investment scheme, using Ethan's name on the paperwork. My mother had signed some of those documents without reading them, trusting her boys to handle it. I sat there in disbelief, scrolling through the evidence, fake contracts, stolen funds, screenshots of Ethan bragging in messages about using Mom's house as leverage. It was all there. The next morning I called Mom. She didn't answer, so I drove over. The house looked smaller somehow, the garden overgrown. When she opened the door, her eyes widened, maybe from guilt, maybe from shame. What are you doing here? She asked quietly. I came to help, I said, but not the way you think. Inside, the place was a mess, papers everywhere. She looked tired, older. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered how easily she'd erased me from her life. I sat at the table and laid down the file. You need to see this. She hesitated, then opened it. As she flipped through the pages, her hands began to shake. What? What is this? Proof, I said. Ethan and Kyle used your name. They've been lying to you. Tears filled her eyes. He told me it was temporary, that he'd fix it. He won't, I said quietly. He never does. She looked up at me, her voice breaking. Why are you helping me? I met her gaze. Because even after everything, you're still my mom. But I won't let you drag me down again. That was the first time she didn't have a comeback. With the evidence I had, I went straight to the authorities. The lawyer helped me file a report, protecting Mom from losing the house. Kyle was arrested within a week. Ethan, though, was another story. He vanished. For months, Mom didn't speak to me, not even a thank you. I told myself I didn't need it, but deep down, I still hoped. Then, one evening, there was a knock on my door again. It was her. Mom, she looked. Different, not angry, not defensive, just tired. Jennifer, she said softly, can I come in? I nodded. She stepped inside, looking around my apartment like she'd never really seen it before. You did all this on your own? She asked quietly. Yes. We sat down. For a long time, she didn't speak. Then she said, I was wrong. I didn't say anything. I just listened. I let Ethan twist everything, she continued. He made me believe you were against us. I didn't want to lose him too, but I lost you instead. Her voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw not the mother who hurt me, but a woman who'd been afraid. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. A long silence followed, then I said, I don't know if I can forget what happened, but I can start over. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. That's all I want. It wasn't some dramatic reconciliation. There were no hugs, no sudden warmth. Just two people sitting in the quiet, trying to rebuild something fragile. In the weeks that followed, We spoke occasionally small steps. She started therapy. She sold the house and moved into a smaller place away from the neighborhood that reminded her of bad choices. As for me, I kept growing my business. I even got invited to give a talk at a design conference about building strength through setbacks. Funny how life turns pain into lessons when you least expect it. Then one afternoon, I got a letter in the mail, no return address. Inside was a folded note and a check for $10,000. The handwriting was familiar. I'm sorry for everything, E. For a moment, I didn't know what to feel. Anger, relief, closure, maybe all three. I didn't cash the check. I kept it in my drawer as a reminder not of him, but of the woman I became when I stopped saving everyone else. And maybe that's what revenge really is, not payback, not punishment, but freedom. Because the moment I stopped trying to prove my worth to them, I found it myself. Months passed, and life slowly began to make sense again. For the first time in years, I wasn't living on edge, waiting for someone's crisis to fall into my lap. My mornings were peaceful coffee by the window, soft music, sunlight spilling across my apartment. I had built this world piece by piece with my own hands. No one could take it away from me now. My relationship with Mom stayed distant but civil. She called every few weeks, small updates mostly. I planted roses, she'd say, or I started cooking again. It wasn't deep, but it was real enough. We were learning how to exist without hurting each other. Then one day she called sounding nervous. Jennifer, can you come by this weekend? There's something I want to show you. Part of me hesitated. I'd learned not to rush back at every request, but there was something in her voice, a softness I hadn't heard in years. So I agreed. When I arrived, I barely recognized the place. The new house was small, but it was tidy and bright. Mom looked different too, older, yes, but lighter. She hugged me at the door, something she hadn't done since Dad died. I wanted you to see this, she said, leading me into the living room. On the wall were my old design sketches, the ones I'd made years ago when I first started my business. She'd framed them. I blinked, caught off guard. Where did you get these? I found them in the attic before I sold the old house, she said. I kept them. I wanted to remember the daughter I should have been proud of all along. My throat tightened. Mom, she smiled weakly, you don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know I see it now, everything you did, everything I took for granted. I didn't cry, but I felt something inside me unclench a tension that had been there for years. We had a quiet dinner together that night, no drama, no guilt, just calm. For the first time, it felt like peace wasn't temporary. The next few months flew by. My design firm, Haven Studio, expanded. I hired 2 new designers, bought a bigger office space, and landed a contract to design the interior of a luxury hotel downtown. I was finally doing what I dreamed of, but life, as always, has a way of testing your peace. It started with a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a deep, familiar voice said, "Jen, it's me." Ethan, my stomach dropped. I hadn't heard his voice in almost a year. "What do you want?" I asked. He exhaled sharply. "I just need a chance to explain." "Explain what?" "I messed up, I know that, but I've been trying to fix things. I got a real job, I'm paying Mom back. I even went to rehab for a bit." I didn't say anything. I just listened, wary. "I want to see you," he said finally. "Please, just once, no lies this time." A part of me wanted to hang up, but another part, the sister who used to patch up his wounds and believe his promises, wanted to see if he'd actually changed. So I agreed to meet him at a small cafe the next afternoon. When I walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked thinner, older, like the weight of his choices had finally caught up. He stood as I approached, forcing a small smile. "You look good," he said. "Thanks." I replied, "So do you." We sat. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "I was angry at you. For a long time. I thought you gave up on us. But now I get it. You just stopped letting me drag you down." I nodded slowly. "It wasn't easy, I know," he said quietly. "I hurt Mom, I hurt you. I lost everything that mattered, but I'm trying to be better." There was sincerity in his eyes this time, not the fake charm he used to rely on. Still, I kept my guard up. He slid an envelope across the table. "This is for you." Inside were documents, a repayment plan, signed and notarized. He'd started paying back what he owed Mom and had transferred part of it directly to me. I looked at him, surprised. "You didn't have to do this. I did." He said, "I needed to make it right. I don't expect you to trust me, Jen. I just want you to know I'm trying." I closed the envelope and set it down. "Thank you." He smiled faintly. "That's the first time you've said that to me in years." We talked for a while longer, not about the past, not about blame, just small things. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was something real. And when we said goodbye, it didn't feel like a door closing. It felt like one creaking open again, slowly, cautiously. After that, I didn't think much about revenge anymore, because the truth is, revenge had already happened in ways I hadn't noticed. It happened the day I stopped chasing people who didn't care. It happened when I started living for myself. It happened every time they saw me succeed without them. That was my quiet revenge, no yelling, no dramatic payback, just peace. A few months later, something unexpected happened. Her retaliation, a YouTube channel I'd started privately to share stories like mine, began to gain traction. It started small, just me recording voiceovers about emotional resilience, toxic families, and rebuilding your life. But people listened, they related, they shared their own stories in the comments. One night, while reading through messages from viewers, I came across one that made me pause. It said, "I thought I was weak for walking away from my family, but after hearing your story, I realize walking away isn't weakness, it's strength." I smiled, because that's exactly what I'd learned. Strength isn't about staying where you're hurt. It's about walking away and still wishing them well. When I hit 100,000 subscribers, I didn't throw a party. I just sat on my balcony watching the city lights, thinking about how far I'd come. Mom sent flowers that day. The card read, "Proud of you always." And Ethan, he called to tell me he got promoted. He was rebuilding his life too. We weren't the picture. Perfect family, we never would be, but maybe that was okay. Because sometimes revenge doesn't look like getting even. It looks like growth. It looks like peace. It looks like finally being free from the people who once defined your worth. As I sat there that night, sipping tea, a thought crossed my mind, the same one that began this journey. Sometimes the people you die for are the ones who bury you first. But if you're lucky, you learn to rise from the ground they buried you in. And when you do, you don't dig them out. You build yourself higher. So if anyone's listening right now, maybe you're in that place where Jennifer once was, feeling betrayed, abandoned, unseen. Remember this. Your revenge doesn't have to be cruel. Sometimes the best revenge is a life so peaceful. It makes the people who hurt you wonder how you ever survived without them. That's the story of how I did. And if you ever find yourself starting over, don't forget every ending is just the beginning of your retaliation. So hit subscribe, because the next story might just be yours.